This blonde man calls Riku Guardman a defective product. He tells him to get out. Riku explains he was just exiled after clearing a dungeon. Our boy is completely stunned. This blonde man repeats himself. You are not fit for this party, so I told you to get out. Riku looks heartbroken and asks why. This blonde says they are tackling a high difficulty dungeon tomorrow. He asks Riku if he knows why, and yeah, he is the crown prince and a hero. Riku can only use barrier magic. Another party member speaks up. I have become strong enough that I do not need your magic anymore. This prince smirks. You saw it too, did you not? A flashback shows him defeating monsters in a single blow. He asks if he took a single counterattack. Riku clenches his fist and says no. This prince declares, something as crude as a barrier is unnecessary. This hero title was for defeating the Demon King, but now that the Demon King is gone, it is just a title. This prince is just clearing dungeons to build his reputation. Riku was under royal orders to serve as his guard, but the prince just calls him dead weight, defective mage. That is the nickname he was given. Riku tries to argue, but the prince just yells at him to shut up. Riku says he just wanted to support them in his own way. This other party members doubt him. A barrier on a body. They have never heard of such a thing. This blonde leader presses him. It's a fact that that's your only talent, isn't it? Our boy looks nervous. He says yes, but his barriers are different. This leader cuts him off. No excuses. He screams at him. Our boy is completely shocked. This kid tries to explain himself. Your Highness, I know full well this sounds like an excuse, but he gives an example. For instance, when we camp, monsters cannot approach due to the barrier. This blonde leader scoffs at the idea of personal barriers. He calls it ridiculous. He condescends to our boy. Barrier magic is just a dome-shaped shield, isn't it? Anyone with mana can use it. This leader recalls his past. Your talent was recognized despite being a commoner, and you were recommended to the Royal Academy. He accuses him of being a fraud. You were just lying about barrier arts to tag along. He questions his motives. You were probably just blinded by the money, weren't you? A memory of his past achievements. The youngest genius among the 12 court mages. This leader calls him a failure. You turned out to be such a defective product. Geez, that's cold. Our boy tries to reason with him. But I put up barriers for your safety. This leader is not having it. You just applied unnecessary barriers, didn't you? He doubts him completely. Actually, were you really casting magic at all? Our boy is stunned. He asks what he means. This leader points out the obvious flaw. Barriers are invisible, are they not? And yeah, barriers are invisible to those with low magic aptitude. He says he realized our boy was lying. Our boy starts sweating. He's been caught. He desperately asks for the others' opinions. This rest of the party turns their backs on him. Man, what a betrayal. He finally admits it. It is true, my reason for joining this party was indeed the money. But his eyes are defiant. He chose royal service because the pay was high and stable. This blonde hero scoffs, trying to get paid without working. You greedy scum. Riku clenches his fist. He needs the money for his family, but the hero just laughs. You're an orphan, aren't you? You don't have a family. Geez, that's cold. Riku admits it. He was raised in a poor orphanage. We see a flashback to that very place. He needs the money for donations. This hero calls him the lowest for lying to the country, he says. A great sinner who fakes their work and ability cannot be kept in this country. He gives Riku a grace period of 10 days. This other party members just sneer at him. They accuse him of using bribes to become a court mage. They mock him for only being able to use barriers. This hero finally says his name. So that's how it is, Riku Guardman. He smirks. You are expelled from my party. No. Damn. He actually did it. You are exiled from the country. Riku is in total shock. He asks why. This hero says he swindled the citizens' blood tax. This party walks away, leaving him with a final threat of execution. Riku's eyes widen in panic. He thinks of the children. He stands in the rain. I have to clear up this misunderstanding somehow, but their backs are already turned. The order echoes in his mind. He can only stand there, mouth agape. This rain pours down on his devastated face. He's just a small silhouette against a stormy sky. In disbelief, our boy really went through it. He thinks about the orphanage where he grew up, and the family he would never see again. This soldier with him has a sudden realization. The king, elsewhere, a massive blue dragon is pierced by a spear of light. This soldier hopes the king can persuade the prince. But right now, our boy has his own dragon to worry about. He quickly forms a glowing symbol with his hands. A hexagonal barrier springs up, binding the creature. This dragon's teeth shatter against the shield. He says, sorry, but I'm in a hurry. He is not just defending, he is transforming the barrier. He calls out attack form 5. Beams of light erupt from inside the dragon's mouth. He looks on, noticing the beast is still breathing, so he switches to attack form 2, blade. This dragon is sliced into pieces. He thinks about his power. It is true he can only use barriers, but he has made them surprisingly versatile. They are not just for defense, as he just proved. He explains his offensive barrier, the attack form. He also has a defensive form and a support form. The soldier is in shock, but the fight is not over. More dragons appear in the sky. A whole swarm of them descends on their position. Our boy looks up at the new wave of enemies. Man, he is in a hurry. He calls himself a defective mage. He brings his hands together, ready for the next round. He says that is why he has mastered them. He unleashes his secret technique too. A flash of light obliterates the dragons. And just like that, the storm is gone. This soldier with him is completely speechless. So anyway, we cut to the capital of Gaitaniga, and then to the rural town where Riku grew up. He has arrived in his hometown, Mayoko. He looks lost in thought. Suddenly, a man yells at him to watch where he is going. Riku seems to have bumped into him by accident. This guy is really laying into him, but then a woman intervenes, calling him out, and yeah, she does not look happy. She stands her ground, ready to lecture him. This man claims Riku bumped into him and did not apologize. She says that is no way to talk to someone who looks so sad. Riku looks up surprised by her defense. She tells the man to apologize, not to her, but to Riku. She insists that they both need to make things right. Our boy is taken aback by this. He quickly apologizes. This other man just walks off. This woman smiles. Welcome back, Riku. Has it been a year? He forces a small smile and says he guesses so. A blonde woman appears before him. Riku looks at her. Has it really been that long? She pulls him into a hug. I'm happy to see you after so long. She notices his expression. You look tired. Did something happen? He recognizes her, Flare Sariel, the daughter of his orphanage's director. They grew up together. She always supported him, and he loves her. She says she heard he was turned away at the castle gate. Riku explains the prince's orders. He came to say goodbye. Flare listens with a determined look on her face as he talks about writing. She interrupts. Then, I'm going with you. Our boy is completely stunned. He asks what she just said. She repeats it and tells him why. Because I love you, Riku. Man, talk about a bombshell. He is blushing hard. She says if he is leaving, she is too. She asks what is wrong. He says his brain cannot keep up. She clarifies she loves him as family and as a man. I love how you always give your all. She takes his gloved hand in hers. She knows he donated his whole salary. He apologizes, but she says not to worry. She tells him the Adventurers Guild wants her father to be the new guild master. And then another piece of news. Her father is getting remarried. She says it has been years since her mother died. He was probably just embarrassed. This new mother is apparently a very capable worker, thanks to Riku and her. The orphanage is no longer poor. They do not need his money. Riku just takes it all in. Flare tells him he has worked hard enough. He can live how he wants now. He thinks about that as she asks if he hates her. She looks at him. I love you. Flare says being with him is her greatest happiness. Then let's be together. She decided the next time they met, she would tell him how she feels. She says they are better off without a country that would kick him out. Riku smiles and agrees with her. He asks her to come with him. So he decided to leave the nation with his childhood friend. Meanwhile, back in the royal capital, this king is absolutely furious. He screams, bring that idiot son of mine here, right now. He orders the one who turned Riku away to be sent to the mines. The advisor questions the decision. This king threatens him too. The advisor suggests he might be overestimating Riku, but the king knows better. That man is a genius, a once-in-a-thousand-years genius. He asks about the barriers surrounding the capital. This advisor knows of it. The king reveals that Riku was the one who installed it. This advisor is stunned. A barrier that large. The king brings up the recent wyvern swarm. This advisor remembers they vanished instantly. And yeah, that was Riku too, this king explains. There is a secret art within his barrier technicus, a power that goes beyond human intellect. The advisor asks how he knows this. Turns out the king is friends with the principal of the Magic Academy, who also called Riku a genius. This king hopes his idiot son has realized his mistake. He figures the prince's party must be much weaker now. Surely he has noticed the difference. Just then, the prince bursts in. He proudly announces he has exiled Riku Guardman. He calls Riku a criminal who was wasting tax money. Man, the timing on this kid, back at the castle, the king is furious. He screams at the prince. You ID oot. This prince is stunned as his father calls him a fool. This king demands, do you have any idea what a stupid thing you've done? This prince tries to defend his judgment, but the king shuts him down. The fact that you don't understand that is why I'm calling you a fool. And yeah, by exiling Riku, they unleash the strongest barrier mage into the world. Meanwhile, Riku is with a blonde woman at night. She talks about announcing their marriage. She asks if he is really okay with leaving, knowing he can never come back. He looks worried, but she just gets closer. She pulls him into a tight hug. She looks him in the eye. "It's fine, I decided I'm going to support you." They both look determined. She says it was her choice. Riku thanks her. She wants to go see her father. Riku gets nervous. They walk through the town at night, under a full moon. They arrive at a house. Riku calls out to her father. A man with stubble turns around looking surprised. He is a big guy. He recognizes Riku and asks how he has been. This blonde woman jumps right in. "Listen, father, I'm going to marry Riku." Riku is flustered, but her father just smiles. "By all means." Our boy is completely shocked. He asks if he is sure. This father says he knows Riku's strength and character. He adds, "And I know he cherishes Flare more than anyone else." The woman, Flare, smiles warmly. Her father teases her, saying she was always asking when Riku would return. Flare gives him a swift stomp on the foot. She tells him to stop saying unnecessary things. Man. Her father recovers and asks where they will live. Riku awkwardly explains he was just exiled by the prince. Flare tells her father the prince called Riku useless. Her father says he sees. So it was that idiot. He reveals he trained Riku once, back when he was an S-rank adventurer. Flare is completely shocked by this news. Man. S-rank, Riku is just as surprised, saying it is the first he has heard of it. This father explains it was a request from the king, but he was fired for not pleasing the prince. He concludes the prince has been an idiot for a long time. Riku just sweats nervously. He tells them as long as Flare is happy, that is all that matters. He then steps forward. He offers them a bag of money as a congratulatory gift. Riku tries to refuse, but her father says it was for her wedding anyway. He tells Riku he does not need to send money anymore. He and his wife will protect the orphanage. He mentions he wanted Riku to meet his wife, but she is out. She is an active S-rank adventurer. He warns them about frequent vampire sightings lately. This rumor is that the Queen of the Night has been revived. She was a vampire king from ancient times, so strong she had to be sealed away. Riku realizes this means even the hero could not defeat her. This father tells him it is just a rumor, but he confirms that vampires are increasing and tells them to be careful. Flare confidently says they will be fine. She smiles. "We have the strongest barrier master right here. After all." Riku gives her a confident smile back. He takes her hand, promising to destroy any obstacle. His eyes glow as he vows to destroy them. Her father thinks his power should be enough. Riku's determination seems to surprise him. Riku says when it comes to protecting, he will not lose. Her father smiles and entrusts his daughter to him. Flare shows up with a mountain of luggage. Riku tells her she packed way too much. She insists they need everything, from cooking utensils to bedding. He asks how they are supposed to carry all this on the road, but Flare reminds her father that they have Riku, who begins to cast a spell. He uses a barrier transformation. Support Form 5. And just like that, all the luggage vanishes into storage. Her father is amazed, saying his barrier magic is off the charts. Riku explains he has secret techniques for every situation. Flare says with Riku around, they will be perfectly safe. She boasts that even vampires or Queen of the Night would be no match for him. Riku says it is time to go, addressing her father as Mr. Daryun. Mr. Daryun gives them a warm, knowing smile. Riku bows deeply, thanking him for everything. He watches them disappear into the distance. As they walk under the full moon, Flare suggests their destination, the Madoka's Empire. It is a place where even commoners can become nobles, and she figures there is probably an adventurous guild there too, but then Riku suddenly stops and calls out to her. He tells her to get inside his barrier for a moment. He looks dead serious and just tells her to do it. He quickly casts a binding spell. A glowing barrier forms around her. She asks what is happening. Riku yells out, "They're coming," and speak of the devil. The Queen of the Night appears, calling them a midnight snack. A woman with white hair smirks. "You should feel honored to become my food." She uses a bind spell, trapping one of the guards in a cube of light. She prepares her own attack, a barrier transformation. But Riku is already casting his own spell, Bullet Star. This vampire woman is shocked. "Why can you touch me?" She says physical attacks should not work on the undead. Riku tells her not to get in their way. She yells back not to underestimate her. But he says she is the one who should not underestimate a barrier master. He declares his iron wall will be her opponent. She counters, saying she will suck dry all the life around her. But she looks over and sees the guard is completely unharmed inside the barrier. She's completely stunned by this. She regains her composure with a confident smirk. Riku's eyes glow. He tells Flare, "Please just wait quietly inside there." Flare looks on with a determined smile. She is inside the protective cube, telling Riku to do his best. This vampire scoffs. calling his techniques cheap tricks. She says they are no match for a progenitor vampire. She unleashes her power, draining the life from the forest around them. This flowers wither and die instantly. This trees turn barren as she uses her energy drain. But Riku is just standing there. The vampire is shocked. Why are you still alive? He says it is because he has a barrier up. She cannot believe it. Absurd. Impossible. She yells that a barrier only repels physical attacks, asking why he is unharmed. Riku explains. The barrier I set up blocks all attacks meant to do harm. This vampire is speechless. She has never heard of such a thing. Riku just looks at her and says, I see. And then he adds, then remember it and die. Damn, that is cold. He forms a sign with his fingers, creating a glowing symbol. Riku is surrounded by glowing magical barriers. Someone lets out a pained cough. A white-haired woman screams, just stay there and get skewered. Riku activates his technique, Barrier Transformation Defensive Formula 3. A pink-haired woman looks on in horror as Riku unleashes a wave of energy. This white-haired woman has massive wings, and she faces Riku from a distance. Riku identifies them as wings of blood. She confirms it. She reveals her power is forced blood manipulation. She tells him to drop dead and unleashes a blast of light. Her technique is called Blood Thread. She attempts to bind him with the attack. But the red threads slam into Riku's glowing barrier. He counters with a blast of his own. These red threads are pushed back from the barrier. She cannot believe it. She screams in shock that her blood thread was repelled. This force of the reflection sends her flying backward. She lands hard, completely stunned that he repelled her attack. She demands to know what he did, saying her attack can pierce a demon god. Riku calmly explains he reflected it with his barrier. He tells her he made the material of the barrier soft. She is in disbelief that he could use his power that way. Riku watches as her body regenerates. He thinks, so this is an immortal. She taunts him for struggling against a mere human. She yells that it is impossible for a human to push a vampire this far. She asks what he is, and he replies, just a flawed mage who can only use barrier magic. This vampire screams at him not to lie. She is one of the noble bloodline. She roars that she cannot lose to a human. She activates a technique called blood doping, her eyes glowing red. She moves in a flash of red light, catching Riku by surprise. She gets right in his face, taunting that he cannot cast a barrier this close. She wraps her arms around him from behind, a triumphant look on her face. Riku is completely calm. He says, take this, my secret art. Massive stingers erupt from her back, poised to strike him. She calls it blood drain. This red stingers close in as she laughs. She screams that she will suck his life out directly, that it will wither away in an instant. But Riku just says, I'm still alive. She is stunned, asking how he casts a barrier without space. He tells her to look closely at his body. This vampire looks defeated. Riku says he is going to have to seal her away. A blue aura begins to glow around Riku's body. He explains his technique. Armor, a microscopic barrier cast around his body. This vampire is in utter disbelief, asking if he is really human. She sprouts her wings, deciding to make a run for it. She says, I'll let you off for today. She flies off into the night sky, vowing to kill him next time. But she slams into an invisible wall. Something is blocking her way. A cage of light materializes around her. Riku calls it birdcage prison. Riku looks up at her. There won't be a next time. Damn, that is cold. He stands below the cage. I am going to destroy you right here. He acknowledges her immortality, so he decides to seal away her existence instead. Riku reaches out his hand, unleashing a powerful sealing spell. Riku's eyes are glowing with immense power. This vampire woman finally understands. He is a descendant of the barrier users who sealed her. She calls them the unmatched natural enemy of immortals. A cage of light slams down around her. She screams that she does not want to be sealed again. She was finally free. And now she is losing it all. Riku unleashes his secret art, Evil Spirit Sealing. Flare cheers for him, amazed that he sealed a legendary vampire. Riku just gives her a small, confident smile. A flashback begins. A young Riku looks up at a woman on a pile of monsters. He asks what a child of heaven is, and is told Flare is a special existence. A woman with a cigarette explains that monsters will come for Flare's power. She tells him he must protect Flare from all of them. This young Riku asks if his master can protect her, but she says it is impossible. She has her own work to do and cannot stay with Flare. She gives him a final command, protect Flare until she dies. This memory of that promise flashes through his mind. He was told to protect her, even if it cost him his own life. Back in the present, Flare is praising him under the full moon. She tells him she does not care what the prince says, or that they were exiled. She knows everyone will eventually see how great he is, but even if they do not, she will always be by his side. She tells him he is an incredible barrier user. Riku is moved to tears and just says thanks. He then asks Flare if he can check the perimeter. She agrees, and he heads off into the woods. Flare watches from inside her protective barrier. A hand reaches down for a silver cross on the forest floor. Riku calls out to the vampire, asking if she can hear him. This hand picks up the cross, letting out a pained groan. Riku looks over his shoulder, surprised by the sound. This vampire is having a complete meltdown, screaming about losing to a lowly human. Her hand clutches the cross as she continues to wail. Riku just looks on, sweating and a little confused. He holds up his hand as it begins to glow, telling her to wait a second. This light in his palm condenses into a bright star. This vampire is now kneeling in a clearing. Riku stands before her. This silver cross is now hanging around her neck. She is completely confused, asking why she is out. Riku says he just loosened the seal a bit. He explains he let a part of her physical body through. She has no idea what he is talking about. Riku tells her that her vampire power is still sealed inside the cross. She is stunned by his barrier magic. He says he brought her out temporarily because he has questions. He tells her to answer honestly, but she refuses to talk to a human. She gives him a defiant glare. So Riku just uses his bind spell on her again, and she screams. He tells her he can lock her back in the cross whenever he wants, or just drop it in the ocean. She immediately gives in. Fine, I get it, I won't defy you. She begs him to let her out, saying she hates dark and cramped spaces. She pants, muttering about the humiliation. This humiliation of having to obey a human. Riku just binds her again, making her scream. Damn, he's not messing around. Riku asks for her name. She says for a vampire, that means giving up control. He knows. That is exactly why he is asking. She panics under his pressure, yelling fine, fine. She shouts out her name, Carmela. She finishes, Carmela Vlad Tepes. Riku smiles and introduces himself as Rikuto. Carmela glares, asking if he is not ashamed to interrogate a little girl. He points out she is older than she looks and asks about the noble bloodline she mentioned. He asks her to explain what that is. She says it refers to her clan of true vampires. Riku realizes there are others. She confirms it. Riku then asks if she is a low-ranking member of the clan. He adds it is because she was pathetically weak. She throws a fit. I am not weak. You're just a freak. She yells that he is just too strong, overwhelming a vampire and performing a sealing ritual by himself. She says that is a large-scale magic that needs a team and hours to cast. She asks if he is even human. Riku just says, that's rude, I'm human. She screams back that anyone who can seal the Queen of the Night alone is not human. She throws a full-on tantrum on the ground. Riku calmly tells her she is just weak. She just keeps crying and calls him annoying. Riku gets back to the point, asking what the other vampires are doing. She says they are sealed, but the seals should be breaking soon. Riku thinks for a moment and asks why her seal broke first. She explains she once drank the blood of a barrier user, absorbing their knowledge. She says true vampires can absorb the power of those they feed on. Riku asks if that means she can use barrier magic. She says yes, but not on his level. Riku gets a serious look. He asks if she knows the names and abilities of her sealed comrades. She smirks, saying of course she does. But then her expression changes to one of worry. She realizes what he is planning and tells him to hold on. Riku points a finger at her. He calls her by her full name. Carmela Vlad Tepes, become my servant. Damn, he actually did it. She is stunned. You're telling me to be a human slave. He says that is right. He wants her knowledge, and in return, he will grant her a bit of freedom. He just uses his bind spell on her again, and she lets out another scream. Riku holds up the silver cross, he says. Sorry, but this is not a proposal. He looks at her with a serious expression. It's a decision. Carmela's voice echoes from the cross. Ugh, you monster, you devil. Riku just smirks, not bothered at all. He replies, coming from a vampire, that's a compliment. She asks why he even needs her. He explains that he will probably run into others from her noble bloodline, and it is better to have some knowledge beforehand. She tries to stand her ground, saying she will not betray her kin. Riku simply asks if she wants to be sealed forever. She immediately says she is sorry. He tells her not to talk unless necessary. He does not want Flare to notice her. Carmela quickly suggests they communicate via telepathy. Riku floats back to Flare, who asks if everything is okay. He gently pats her on the head. He tells her there is no problem, and she looks relieved. Flare is so happy she gives him a big hug. Riku looks down at her, a soft smile on his face. Carmela's voice speaks in his mind. Noticing Flare's scent, she wonders if Flare could be that one's. As the cross glows with a red light, Riku tells Flare it is time to go, and she agrees. He begins to cast another spell, Barrier Transformation Secret Art. creation of all things. A glowing horse and carriage appear out of thin air. He tells Flare to get in. Carmela panics telepathically, and Riku tells her to stop being noisy. She asks what he just did. He calmly replies that he just made a carriage with a barrier. Carmela screams that he is out of his mind, and so their journey began with a noisy new vampire servant. Riku explains he made a legendary vampire his servant, and they boarded a carriage made of barriers. Flare is heard cooing over a cat as they set out. Since Riku can control the barrier carriage, it is just the two of them. He asks if she really likes the cat that much, and she happily says yes. He clarifies 2 people and 1 animal. This cat in her lap looks absolutely miserable, and yeah, the narrator reveals this cat is actually Carmela Vlad Tepes. She kept screaming about being trapped in the cross. That little silver cross was her prison, so Riku had no choice but to create a barrier vessel for her. This cross now hangs from the cat's collar. Flare asks where he found it, and he lies that it was near where they fought the vampire. Flare calls it a poor thing and decides to make it part of the family. This cat, Carmela, looks absolutely furious about this development. Riku just watches, thinking about how jealous he is. Carmela's red eyes glare with pure hatred. Riku snaps himself out of it, realizing there's trouble outside. He stops the carriage to check it out, and Flare insists on coming with him. They step out to find a road littered with fallen knights. 2 of them are on the ground, groaning in pain. Another one cries out about how much it hurts. Flare looks on in horror, saying it is terrible. A knight with a broken helmet screams for every potion they have. Riku stands in the dark, completely silent. He turns back to Flare. I'm sorry, this might take a while. Flare looks determined, saying it is okay and that she will help too. Riku's eyes dart to the side. He has heard something. A voice calls out from the trees. Are you alright? They find a group in a clearing. A knight is wounded, and a silver-haired man asks who they are. Riku explains he is just a traveler. I have a bit of experience with healing arts. Please let me help if I can. This injured knight looks up, relieved. Really, that would be a huge help. This silver-haired man says they have seriously injured people. Riku says he sees. Riku then notices the knight's condition. Wait, you're seriously injured yourself. He points to their missing limb. What happened to your left arm? This knight looks away. An elite did this to me. They explained they were hunting a beast, but were counterattacked and lost their arm. Meanwhile, the cat in Flare's arms is shaking uncontrollably. Flare notices its fear. What's wrong, kitty? You've been shaking for a while now. This cat's red eyes are wide with terror. It seems to recognize these newcomers. These people are. Riku steps forward to the injured knight. Let me treat you first. This knight dismisses his offer. You can't fix an arm that's already been torn off. Riku just calmly replies, Oh, I can fix it. He forms a hand sign, activating a healing spell, Barrier Transformation. A construct of light begins to form where the knight's arm used to be. This knight watches in utter shock as their arm regenerates. They clench their new fist, calling it a miracle. Now they can hunt the fangs again. Riku shakes their hand, then asks what fangs are. A black cat grumbles, thinking he is talking about her. Suddenly, a voice cries out that they are saved, calling for a renowned healer. Riku and a person in armor turn to the sound. Riku tries to say he is not a healer, but she begs him to help her comrades. He looks stressed for a moment, then he unleashes a massive barrier expansion. He yells as he casts the spell. This is a mass healing spell. The injured knights are amazed. They look at their hands completely healed. They throw their arms up in celebration, asking what this power is. They start calling him a god, thanking the god of the healing temple. Riku tries to correct them. No, like I said, I'm neither a healer nor a god. I'm just a barrier master. This armored woman is stunned, asking how he did that with barrier magic. He explains the barrier has high oxygen and light mana, maximizing natural healing. She admits she does not get it, but says it is incredible regardless. She thanks him, and he asks what beast they were chasing. She warns him to be careful. There is a vicious vampire in the area. She calls this vampire the Queen of the Night. A flashback shows Carmela in all her glory. Carmela, now in a maid outfit, realizes they are talking about her. This black cat also. Carmela looks very annoyed. Riku asks where this powerful vampire is. Carmela silently fumes that she is not weak. He is just too strong. Riku tells the woman to rest easy. I've already sealed the Queen of the Night. She is completely shocked. He tells her not to worry. She says with his power, it seems possible. She asks for his name. He tells her, I'm Riku Guardman, man. What a last name. This armored woman introduces herself as Sirage. Riku repeats the name, then the term Fang Hunters. Carmela, the cat's eyes glow red. The name clearly means something to her. She explains telepathically that they are vampire exterminators. Riku seems surprised they even exist. Siraj kneels before Riku, begging him to join the Fang Hunters and offering him the captaincy. Riku immediately turns her down. Siraj is shocked. You have enough power to seal the Queen of the Night. Someone like you could easily save the world. Riku just smirks. Save the world? Huh. He says that is way out of his league. He and Flare are shown side by side. Smiling, he only wants to protect the small joys right in front of him. Siraj grabs his arm, still pleading. He tells her again that he is turning her down. She clings to him desperately. Let's protect the world from those vampires together. Riku finally loses his patience. I said, no. Will you just listen to me for a second? Later, Flare asks Riku what he plans to do now. He says he will become an adventurer. Their carriage rolls on. Carmela confirms telepathically that he is not joining the Fang Hunters. Flare asks him why not. She points out that an organization would provide a stable income and a place to stay. Riku explains that apparently they do not get paid a single gold coin for vampire hunting. He adds that there is no salary either. Flare wonders how they even survive. Carmela thinks they sound like a shady group. Riku says they are driven by a noble mission. A flashback shows Siraj and her knights looking heroic. Riku's voiceover calls them a bunch of fanatics. He explains his situation. He cannot stay in his home country, and he needs money to live with Flare. He calls himself a defective mage, doubting he can find work using only barrier magic. Carmela gets it. Adventurers are judged by ability, not status. She asks if he has ever been one before. Riku says no, never. He joined the court right after leaving his village. This cat looks concerned, asking if he will be okay. She says he kind of lacks common sense. Riku holds a glowing barrier cube over the cat, who is now stretched out in terror. He just says, die. Suddenly, a massive roar echoes through the forest. Riku peeks out of the carriage, wondering where that came from. He just smiles, completely unfazed, and yeah, it is a dragon. Carmela panics in his mind, asking why he is so calm. She calls it a high-level monster, but Riku is not impressed. I defeated plenty of them during my training with my master. He steps out of the carriage with a greedy look. Besides, this dragon should sell for a good price. He gets ready to make some quick cash. He casts a simple bind spell, and the dragon is instantly trapped in the sky. It plummets to the ground with a massive thud. Riku calmly pats the downed beast. Carmela asks what he just did, he says. I just suffocated it with a barrier. Carmela is absolutely speechless. She asks why he did not just use a powerful attack spell. He explains that would have damaged the scales. Monster corpses sell for more when they're intact. He gives a little peace sign from behind the dragon's corpse. Exactly. Carmela asks how he even did that. He says it was simple. Enclose the dragon's head in a barrier. Then he just removed the air inside, letting it suffocate. She asks if that is even possible. He says of course it is. He explains that when you cast a barrier, you control everything inside it. Carmela loses it. That's not natural at all. Your barrier magic is completely broken. You idiot. Riku just shrugs it off. I have nothing to compare to. She thinks to herself that he is so abnormal, he does not even realize it. This cat glares, completely baffled by his broken abilities. Riku just says, now then, and opens his inventory. He begins storing the massive dragon corpse away. Carmela the cat screams telepathically. That is not all right, Tite. She asks how the dragon's corpse just vanished. Riku says he stored it in a barrier. He explains that a barrier is a type of spatial magic, creating a separate dimension. Carmela is just completely lost. He calls this subfunction an inventory. She just stares at him. You're such a weirdo. He replies, you're a defective demon lord. So weird sits you. She says his use of barrier magic is so abnormal, it must be some kind of bug. Suddenly, a whole swarm of dragons appears in the sky, and yeah, there are a lot of them. He asks if being a bug means he is weak. She yells back that it means he is too strong. She cannot believe it. He defeated a true vampire so easily. Riku genuinely asks if vampires are really that strong. She insists they were once feared as the strongest race. Riku says bringing up the past does not help, and Carmela throws a tantrum. He just picks her up by the scruff of her neck. He smiles and says it is time to go back. But Carmela's eyes narrow. She senses enemies. Riku looks up into the dark sky, sensing them too. These dragons are suddenly trapped inside a massive barrier cage. A beam of light pierces through one of them. A moment of confusion hangs in the air. Riku's eyes glow with focus. And just like that, the dragons all fall from the sky around him. He looks at the pile of defeated dragons. That's a mountain of treasure. Carmela the cat is held up by the scruff of her neck, looking very stressed. She asks telepathically if he is serious, and he replies that of course he is. Riku has a very confident smirk on his face. He casts a support-type bind spell, Prison birdcage, a massive birdcage made of light forms in the sky, trapping a swarm of bats. Inside the cage, the bats transform into small dragons made of light. Riku holds up Carmela, who asks what is wrong. He says it is nothing. A voice explains that a dragon turned into a rotting thing. So decayed nothing can pierce it. Another voice wonders what to do, suggesting they just seal it again. A massive shadowy dragon with glowing red eyes appears from the ground suddenly. Something feels off as a slash of energy cuts through the air. This energy shatters his barrier. Riku is shocked, saying this is the first time his barrier has been broken. He realizes that barriers weaken when you expand their range. He looks up, saying, "But." This creature roars as it breaks free. It is a dragon zombie. Riku asks what a dragon zombie is. Carmela explains it is a servant of noble blood. Riku asks if it is immortal, and she stammers that only vampires are. He decides that if it is not immortal, then it is no problem. He brings his hands together, preparing another spell. Carmela asks what he is planning. She warns him that its rotten flesh and blood will contaminate everything. Carmela looks on, sweating with worry. Riku says he knows, so he will just erase it without a trace. Carmela is stunned. A massive amount of energy gathers around his hands. She wonders what this is. She looks up at him in pure shock, asking what he even is. Carmela asks what he is planning to do. He calls it barrier transformation. His eyes glow with intense power. This is his ultimate skill. This light in his hands condenses into a swirling black void. Riku unleashes the attack, calling out its name. Void? This dragon zombie roars as the energy consumes it. A massive explosion of fire and light erupts. Riku and Carmela stand in the aftermath, the cat looking completely stunned. This shockwave sends Carmela flying into the air, screaming. Riku looks up at the clear blue sky. He just says, "All right." He has a faint, satisfied smile on his face. Carmela's voice echoes, asking what the heck that was. She lands in front of him. He calmly explains, "What do you mean? It's my ultimate skill, Void." Carmela is just speechless, repeating the name. Riku begins a science lecture about things called atoms. He explains smashing these particles with neutrons. Carmela's eyes are spinning. He says this releases massive energy, like a nuclear bomb. Riku pauses, looking like he is trying to remember the details. Carmela asks what he is saying. He admits, "To be honest, even I don't really get it." Carmela sweats, realizing he does not even understand his own power. She thinks about him using a technique like that so casually. She decides he is way too dangerous. Riku just scratches his cheek. "Yeah, true." He adds that not fully understanding his own technique might be a bad thing. Carmela throws her paws up in frustration. "That's not what I meant. I mean, you're too strong." She keeps yelling about the light of destruction that wipes out everything. Their carriage rolls into a bustling city. Riku asks what town this is. Flare explains they are in the territory of Saladius. She says it is basically the entrance to the Empire, so it is always busy. Riku decides they should get an inn first, then register at the Adventurers Guild. Flare proudly holds up a piece of paper. "I've already picked out a highly recommended one." They arrive at the inn. Riku seems a little hesitant. He stands in front of a single room door, asking if she is sure about this. Our boy is blushing hard, completely flustered. And yeah, there's only one bed in the room. Flare gives him a very serious glare. She says, "Who? Soriku doesn't want to share with me." Riku panics in the background. He stammers, trying to explain himself. She covers her mouth with a smile, revealing she was just kidding. She opens her arms to him. "I know, come on." He stumbles forward as she pulls him in. He falls right on top of her on the bed, she says. "They have come a long way." Riku agrees, saying a lot has happened. Flare looks at him gently. "You did great. Get a good night's sleep tonight to prepare for tomorrow." He closes his eyes, finally able to rest. This next morning, the sun shines brightly. Carmela asks what he is going to do now. He says he will register at the guild. She asks if he is sure he will not mess up. Riku smirks. "What do you mean mess up? I'm just registering. You know, nothing's gonna happen." He walks confidently toward the massive guild hall. This doors swing open automatically. He says it is amazing, as a hall full of adventurers looks on. They arrive at the Adventurers Guild. Riku notes the reception is in the back. This receptionist asks how she can help, and he says he wants to become an adventurer. She hands him a registration form. Riku gets to work filling it out. This receptionist reads his application, noting his class is Mage. She looks at his skills, and her face drops. "Are you sure it's really just barrier magic?" Riku confirms it. "Yes, that's all I can use." This receptionist just gives a little smile. She says she understands, but he will have to take a test. She explains that in this empire, all adventurers must pass a registration exam. This first part is a mana measurement. Riku asks if the magic tool will break. She assures him the crystal ball is enchanted to be absolutely unbreakable. This process is simple, just touch it and pour in your mana. She demonstrates, and her mana capacity shows up as 150. Riku is surprised by the tool. She says it was recently developed by the Empire. He asks again if she is sure it will be okay, saying he has a lot of mana. A voice calls him cocky. Riku turns around, asking who that was. A very round man in a pink suit introduces himself as Kamase di Echigoya. He scoffs at Riku for not knowing him, asking if he lives under a rock. Riku wonders why a noble is here. Kamase yells at him, mocking him for only using barrier magic. He gets right in Riku's face, calling him out for being cocky with such a basic skill. Riku just asks him to leave him alone. Kamase warns him that a defective mage trying to be an adventurer is reckless. Riku just places his hand on the crystal ball. He says, "Here," and the unbreakable crystal shatters into a million pieces. Riku looks down with a calm smile. This pink-haired guy is completely freaking out. This scene shifts to an adventurer's guild. Inside, the pink-haired guy is still yelling, "What in the world is this?" This receptionist is shocked. The magic power measurement crystal broke. A voice explains it could not handle Riku's extraordinary power. Riku looks a little awkward, as if he knew this would happen. This receptionist tries to move on, but Riku asks how many exams are left. She holds up 2 fingers, target practice and a mock battle. Riku thinks to himself, 2 more to go. They head outside for the target practice exam. This pink-haired guy confronts Riku, asking if he is registering too. This receptionist asks why a noble is becoming an adventurer, and the guy yells at her. She just sighs, clearly annoyed. This instructor explains the target is a magical tool for measuring power. You pass if the numerical value is above a certain level. Riku confirms that it tests any long-range power. Not just magic, he asks how much power the target can withstand. This instructor says it has a stabilization spell. It will absolutely not break. This pink-haired guy starts mocking Riku, calling him a defective product. He asks how Riku plans to hit the target with only barrier magic. He smugly declares Riku will fail and offers to show him how it is done. This guy gets ready to show off. "Behold, my hellfire." He slams his hands down, a magic circle glowing on the ground. He chants, calling on a fire spirit to strike down the enemy. He strikes a very dramatic pose, kicking the air with a flourish, and he yells out the name of the spell, Fireball. A massive explosion of fire erupts from the ground. This blast sends smoke and embers flying into the sky. It is a seriously big explosion. This instructor looks on, impressed by the incredible power. This target displays a score of 130, way above the passing line. Riku and the receptionist watch. She looks completely stunned. This pink-haired guy puffs out his chest. "How about that? Did you see? This is my true ability." This instructor announces that it is now Riku's turn. He gives Riku a pointed look. You know what you have to do, right?" Riku says he knows. He promises not to use blank. Riku just forms a small star-shaped bullet of energy on his fingertip. He fires a thin beam of blue light straight at the target. It punches a clean hole right through the supposedly unbreakable tool. Riku stands on the other side. This pink-haired guy is losing his mind. No incantation. Riku just asks what the big deal is. Riku points out the guy was not using it either. Flare thinks to herself that Riku did not even know it was an advanced technique. This receptionist explains that power usually decreases without an incantation. And on top of that, he broke the magical tool. She cannot believe it. Riku pokes his head through the hole. "That's strange. I held back so I wouldn't break it." Kamase calls him a liar. As Riku casually stands behind him, he gets right in Riku's face. "For starters, how did you attack with a barrier?" He screams that he does not believe it. Riku calmly asks what it would take. Kamase challenges him to a duel. Duel me." This receptionist explains the 3rd exam is a practical one. Riku listens with his arms crossed, looking calm. Kamase grabs Riku, volunteering to be his opponent. Riku just stares at him, completely unfazed. This receptionist nervously asks Riku if he is okay with this arrangement. Riku says he does not mind, telling them to get it over with. They face off in a field. Kamase declares there is no way he can lose a magic battle. This receptionist looks on with a worried expression. She shouts for the match to begin. Kamase immediately begins his incantation, calling on the fire spirit. A magic circle glows as he gathers energy in his hand. A bright ball of fire forms between his palms. Riku just says, "Bind." Kamase laughs at his petty defensive magic. Riku calmly replies, "No, there is no need for that." Kamase gets angry, asking what he just said. He unleashes his attack, yelling, "Fireball." This massive fireball streaks toward Riku. But suddenly, the fireball changes direction, heading right back at Kamase. He starts to panic, telling it not to come any closer. This fireball explodes right in his face, and he screams. Riku smirks, explaining he used the attack to his advantage instead of blocking it. This receptionist is in total shock, asking what just happened. Kamase sits on the ground, dazed. As Riku explains, he reflected the magic with a barrier. Riku holds out his hand, telling the guy to take a good look around. Kamase is trapped inside a massive glowing barrier, a technique called reflection. A flashback shows a determined man. It's possible if you master barrier magic. Riku looks up, remembering that promise. A voice echoes, "We sincerely welcome you." And our boy just gives a gentle smile. Kamase is still on the ground muttering about how it is impossible. This receptionist claps, amazed he overwhelmed the instructor with just barrier magic. She confirms he passed. Riku looks over his shoulder, asking about Kamase. This noble yells from the floor that he passed too. This instructor stands over him, noting he has powerful magic. Carmela is just trying to figure Riku out. She cannot tell if he is confident or clueless, good or bad. This receptionist is just happy. She officially welcomes him to the Adventurers Guild, Riku Guardman. This name Riku Guardman echoes. This receptionist seems to be pondering something about him. She hands him his official Adventurer's card. She welcomes him to the guild one last time. Riku thanks her and asks her name. She introduces herself as Ranka. She says it is nice to meet him. Riku gets down to business, asking if they buy monster materials. Ranka says they do. He explains he has something from a monster he defeated. She tells him she will appraise it at the counter inside. He stops her. "Ooh, will it fit in the guild?" Ranka looks at him, completely confused. Riku scratches his neck. "It probably. No, definitely won't fit." And with a massive thud, he summons the corpse of the dragon he killed. Classic, this receptionist is stunned, asking where he pulled that giant thing from. Riku is confused by her question. He says magic bags and spatial magic exist. She stammers, saying he is only supposed to use barrier magic. He says barrier magic can do it too. She thinks she could not do that even if she tried. He just keeps saying, "You can if you try hard enough." She just lets out a weak "oh," clearly not buying it. Riku realizes she has completely given up trying to understand him. He tries to explain, saying he just removed all the air from inside the barrier. This receptionist is just covered in question marks, completely lost. A crowd gathers around the massive dragon carcass, amazed at its perfect condition. This receptionist asks how he even managed this. He calmly replies, "I suffocated it." She asks if he means he forced it underwater or something. He clarifies, "No, I suffocated it with a barrier." This entire crowd, including the receptionist, is just speechless. This onlookers murmur in disbelief. "No way." Someone asks if that is really a basic spell. Another person says it is impossible. Riku tries to explain, I covered the enemy's face with a barrier." And then he continues his explanation, but it is not helping. He sweats, wondering if he just made things more confusing. This receptionist says they do not have that kind of money. Riku yells out in shock, then immediately bows and apologizes. She bows back, saying it is her fault for not considering the guild scale. He tries to clear things up, saying he did not get the dragon through shady means. She just winks and says it is fine. She tells him, "I've already seen Sir Rikudo's true strength." He looks at her, touched, but she continues, looking at the dragon, but a green dragon carcass this pristine. She explains the price would be astronomical, and the guild just does not have that kind of money. So Riku decides he wants to take a quest instead. He asks for something simple like herb gathering, and Ranka says they have one. Riku immediately accepts it. She hands him the official quest form. She explains he will get his reward when he turns in the items. Riku thanks her. Our boy heads down the stairs to leave the guild, but a voice starts mocking him for gathering herbs. And of course, it is Kamase, calling it a job for a loser. Riku is just surprised the guy recovered so quickly. Kamase boasts that he is going into the forest to kill monsters, unlike a weakling. He calls Riku a defective thing who can only defend. Riku realizes the guy just hates being overshadowed. Kamase throws a tantrum, warning him not to bite off more than he can chew. He stomps off with his party, leaving Riku standing there. A white-haired girl with red eyes watches, thinking Kamase is an idiot. Riku just shrugs it off. Well, people see what they want to see, and he walks away. But as he walks down the street, he knows he is being followed. He just says one word, "Bind." And the white-haired girl is suddenly launched into the air. She is completely losing her mind, screaming in shock. Riku lands gently on the ground. "All right, we're here." He gives a calm smile. This girl is still freaking out. Riku just asks what is wrong. She asks how he was flying. He says he flew using barrier magic. She just screams that she does not get it. Riku explains, "If I wrap my body in a barrier and move it, that's how I get to fly." A silver-haired maid with him thinks he uses magic in ridiculous ways. He suggests gathering herbs, but she asks if he can even identify them. He says there is no need. This maid just screams that she does not understand. Riku says it is a simple principle. He picks up a stone from the ground and says bind. He explains a barrier is cast over space, forming a glowing cube in his hand. You set a coordinate in the air, create the barrier, and place a stone inside. This stone is now suspended inside the glowing barrier. He says because the barrier floats, the stone floats. Then he just moves it. He holds the floating cube up to the sky. He casts a massive barrier over the whole forest. The maid asks what he is doing. He says invocatory. The maid thinks it is a completely insane idea. She calls it unbelievable. Riku just says thanks and suggests they go back. Suddenly, a scream for help echoes. Riku's expression turns serious. His hand twitches. The maid notices something is happening with the barrier. This massive barrier over the forest begins to glow. She realizes with horror that it is slowly shrinking. Riku stands in a clearing, holding a glowing cube of condensed earth. This maid is completely bewildered. What the hell is this? Riku stands in a barren patch of land. He says he took all the medicinal herbs. The maid calls him an idiot. He explains he made a spherical barrier, then shrank it to push everything but the herbs out. A pile of herbs now sits inside a small barrier. He says exactly, and then invitoitri. Another scream rings out. The maid recognizes the voice of that jobber noble, and it is Kamase, screaming in absolute terror. Classic. A serious-looking adventurer confirms something. Looks like it. Kamase's companion rushes forward, a voice asking if he will help. He says of course, even though Kamase looked down on him. He asks if that is a reason to abandon someone. This instructor, Carmela, smirks, calling him an oddball but a good person. He thanks her and spots his target below. A giant boar monster is charging a small party of adventurers. Kamase is in the group, screaming in terror as the beast looms over them. One of his party members cries out in alarm just as the boar attacks. A spell binds it in place. This monster squeals, and a voice asks if they are okay. A blonde adventurer looks up, completely stunned. But Kamase sees his chance. Perfect. I'm getting out of here while I can. He abandons his team, running for his life. Jeez, that's cold. His teammate watches in disbelief, calling his actions horrible. Kamase just yells back, shut up. Survival is the only thing that matters. Suddenly, a barrier traps him. A voice tells him to stay quiet. Riku stands there, having saved the girl and stopped the coward. Kamase glares at him. You defective piece of trash. Riku prepares another spell with a flick of his wrist. This girl thanks him, but he tells her she can thank him later. He then traps the giant boar in a massive barrier. This girl is confused, wondering what he means by later. Then a new monster appears, and Kamase screams, or king. A massive B-rank monster towers over them, completely out of place in this area. A child cries out that it is no use, calling for her mommy. Riku looks on as a little girl cries on the ground. A massive boar-like monster looms over them. It leaps into the air ready to crush him. And just like that, it is minced into pieces. Back in the present, the guild is bustling with activity. A man in a beanie stands at the counter. Rinka looks unimpressed. Back in the flashback, Riku used a skill called Thread. He explains he set up barrier strings, thin to their absolute limit. This little girl cannot believe a defensive spell could do that. Riku just looks down at her. He says, well, if you just decide that you can't do anything. Back at the guild, Riku senses something. He turns his head looking towards the commotion. Renka calls out to him, and he asks if something is wrong. This man at the counter says, I have about 500 kilograms, so that should be enough. Everyone is stunned by the sheer amount. Riku facepalms, thinking he may have gone a bit overboard. Renka asks if it is true, as Riku prepares his magic. He says yes, and summons a mountain of medicinal herbs. Renka looks at him. You've come at the perfect time. Did you go pick the medicinal herbs? He asks if she needs some medicinal herbs. This man shouts that he wants them, and Renka says they need a lot. This man looks desperate, and Riku looks on calmly. Riku asks how much he needs. The man replies, I want 100 kilograms, dishi. This man points emphatically, making his demand. Riku considers the amount. The man asks if it is too difficult. He looks on with a desperate sweat. Riku agrees easily, then asks if people were injured somewhere. This man immediately trusts him. Riku is surprised he believes him so easily. He smiles warmly. Of course. Deshi, he says he has full confidence in his ability to judge character. This man confirms it. Many people were injured near a town he knows. Riku offers to go and treat them. The man is shocked. He asks if Riku is a healer. Riku explains he is a barrier user. This man shakes his hand. I'm counting on you. Dishi. Suddenly, an old woman stares in disbelief. They have teleported to the town of Itoi. The man is stunned by the high-level magic. He cannot believe this is all being done with just barriers. He exclaims that his judgment was right all along. A blue-haired man looks on, back in the guild. Riku asks for the location. He realizes the town is right next to Mayoko. This man says he has a carriage ready. Riku says there is no need. This man is confused. Riku just raises his hand to cast a spell. He explains he passed through Itoi on his way here, and he can fly there instantly. This man is floored. You can even use teleportation. Deshi. Riku says yes, and a bright light envelops them. This blue-haired man from before smirks. Now, let's hurry. Riku smiles, ready to head to where the injured are. Riku and the merchant stand outside as Riku asks, "What is this?" It is a massive horde of orcs, invading the town to hunt humans. Riku's hand glows as he prepares a spell. He puts up a barrier around the merchant. "Mr. Merchant, please stay inside the barrier for now." This merchant is panicking. What? What are you going to do?" This scene flashes back to the forest. An orc raises its axe over a group of adventurers. A close-up shows its snarling face. This text confirms orcs. A whole army of them charges forward. An adventurer is completely surrounded. And so many of them. An orc swings its massive fist down, back in the present. The merchant stammers. It's a monster parade, Riku confirms it. A massive swarm of starving monsters. His eyes glow with power. "I'll finish this quickly." This scene flashes back again. A huge barrier spell descends on the orc army. This adventurers watch as the orcs are trapped inside a glowing cube. One of them says, "I see." He thinks the plan is to attack them while they are immobilized. But a voice says, "No, it is the serious adventurer from before." He casts his own spell, Bind. A flash of light erupts from the ground. A massive grid of barriers forms, separating everyone. This blonde adventurer from Kamase's party is stunned. What's this barrier? This serious adventurer makes a simple hand gesture. This blonde adventurer tries to attack an orc through the barrier, but his sword just clangs against an invisible wall. Back in the present, the merchant is just staring, completely bewildered. Whew, these adventurers are cheering wildly, raising their fists and swords to the sky. This man thanks him profusely. "Thanks to you, everyone is safe." Riku just looks on with a calm expression, but a voice asks, "Then what?" A hand clenches into a fist, surrounded by a dark aura. The scene flashes red. An adventurer points at the barrier. The barrier is shrinking. The orcs inside are clearly suffering. This barrier compresses into a small glowing cube. A voice says, "That's brutal." He crushed them to death inside the barrier, and the adventurers are in awe. And thanks to him, they are saved. This scene shifts to a large building, likely a church or hospital. Riku stands inside, a cat sitting by his feet. This man thanks him again. "If you hadn't been here, it would have been much worse." This man bows deeply, but Riku just says he did his job. A golden light appears, a healing spell. An adventurer looks at his hand in shock. Another one looks at his own hand, equally surprised. Riku stands with his back to the healed adventurers. He has a small, satisfied smile on his face, but then a woman screams. No, she is leaning over a man on a bed. Why? Why is this person? This man is not responding, and she just screams in despair. Someone suggests they discuss the reward, but Riku says his job is not finished yet. He looks on with a determined expression. A black cat with a red collar looks on. Its fangs bared, it is suddenly sent flying backwards, screaming that it is impossible. This cat crashes to the floor in a makeshift infirmary. Riku and the beanie guy just watch its tail stick straight up, quivering in shock. A voice declares there's no way to resurrect the dead, and it is the cat, yelling its head off in disbelief. Riku just stares back, his expression completely serious. This man in the beanie is confused, asking what he means. We see a flashback of a woman crying over a heavily bandaged man. Riku clarifies. "The people who died. I haven't resurrected them yet." The man is stunned. This cat is sweating, asking what Riku is even talking about. Riku confirms he is talking about resurrecting the dead. This cat looks at him, completely flabbergasted. It asks if he really thinks such a thing is possible. Riku says it is. He says, "I can do it," and the cat is once again blown away by the sheer audacity. Riku has a confident smirk on his face. He knows what he is capable of. This cat finally gets it. "I see you artificially generate the heavens to summon it back." This goal is to summon back the human soul. A faint light begins to glow from the injured man's body. Riku puts his hands together to cast a spell, but he warns there are a lot of strings attached. He envisions a massive hall filled with bodies, all bathed in a divine light. Someone looks on, their mouth agape in awe. Riku begins the spell. Purification field construct. The cat recognizes the power of purification. A spiritual form of Riku explains it is the highest tier of healing arts, removing all impurities. This cat realizes he has created a sacred domain. Riku is impressed, and the cat says it has not lived this long for nothing. Riku sweats with concentration. The spell is in place. This merchant watches nervously. Not sure what is happening, Riku thinks about the next step, healing the damaged body. This dead man lies peacefully on the bed. He groans as life returns to his body. This man sits up, wondering if he died. A woman hugs him in disbelief. Riku and the cat watch the celebration. He created a sacred domain with his barrier. This cat cannot believe it. He called a soul back from the heavens. Riku stands up. Thanks, but well, there are restrictions. He explains the conditions for resurrection. This cat insists. This goes far beyond the realm of humanity. Suddenly, everyone is bowing deeply to Riku. He is completely confused. Our boy is just flabbergasted by the reaction. This merchant is bowing too, declaring that Riku is a god. Riku looks up at the cross, completely overwhelmed by the situation. This cross looms over the scene. He tries to deny it. No, I'm not. Damn, this is awkward.